Okay, pal, you want smash mouth power and efficiency? Then here's your starting lineup. Ford F-Series, #1 for 37 years straight. Talk about a dynasty, baby. Hey, it's game time, sports fans, at the Bill Ford Tough Sales Event.
And good evening from Legends Country Club in Stephenville, Texas. We'll be here for the next hour. We've got door prizes, food specials, and of course we're surrounded by some of the best Tarleton football fans around. Make sure you send your questions for Coach Fowler later in the show during the Ask the Coach segment. If you're here in the audience, just find Andrew or Jeff or a member of our staff. You can ask a question live. If you're listening online or on the radio, you can send a question through Twitter. You've got to tweet us at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. Again, that's at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. Coach, 5 out of the past 6 meetings between Tarleton and Midwestern decided by less than 5 points, and Saturday's game is no different.
There's 2 great football teams. You know, when you walk away, you know, you got the disappointment of the game after a loss, but when you walk away from it and you go back and you sit down and you watch the video and you see how everything worked out in the game, it was 2 great football teams.
Sure.
And it was a slugfest. And we just came up on the short end of the deal. You know, I seen us do some things in all segments of the game. I seen us get a lot better from a week ago. In a lot of areas, and it was it turned into, you go into it and you see the 2 offenses, and the yards and the numbers that they put up, you come into it, it was a defensive slugfest, but it goes back to that the same way. I mean, it's, the last 3 years it's been, 24, 20, 27, so, it ended up being a defensive slugfest there, and which team was going to get the stop last and not let them in the end zone. And we weren't able to hold him out. We got the ball there on the 25-yard line there at the last of the game, and well, that's tough because they're in field goal range, and you don't give up a score, and you're playing that, it's just a tight situation, and they got to take a chance. And but what a great football game. They got great players, and they did a great job. And I'm proud of our kids right now. I'm proud of the way they fought. I'm proud of the way they played. We played, we got 2 losses back-to-back weeks with 2 great opponents, and our kids will bounce back. I didn't know how they would be this morning, but they were fine. I know they're still hurting, but we'll put everything into it and take this thing to Commerce next week.
27-23 loss to then number 18 Midwestern State on Saturday night. Coach, you told us it would be a hard-fought physical football game, and it proved to be just that.
Yeah, it was. It's both teams have got to establish the run to open up the passing game, and it was. We tried to take out their back. They tried to take out our backs. And if the run game was going to happen, you were going to allow the quarterback to run the football. Because I knew coming into it, I'd watch those backs hit 50 yards, 60 yards, 70-yard runs.
Yep.
We can't allow that to happen. And if the quarterback is going to, if they're going to beat us on the run, we were going to, we weren't allowing the quarterback. There's some blown assignments there where he had it, but we felt more comfortable with him running the ball and those backs, because those backs were tremendous players.
Yeah, defensively, you really improve. You allow around 500 yards, but you only allowed 27 on the board. Definite improvement from the week before against Florida Tech. And here's the big stat. Midwestern had 4 touchdowns over 50 yards against Eastern New Mexico. They didn't have 1 play over 50 yards in this game.
Well, there's points, there's yards there, but that's what I tell you. I don't even look at the stats or know where we're at, because yards are not going to win any football game or lose one either. It's the number of the points on the board. Where I was most proud of our kids defensively is they played in the short field most of the night. And, you play in the short field, we needed one more stop. And I don't know what their red zone chances were. I just know this. They didn't score a lot of touchdowns when they were down there. And they got us on that last one. We get them in 3rd down and 4 and made a great play. And Mark Martinez was right there. And Mark Strange made a great play over top of him. But, we played great in the short field. We forced turnovers in the short field, and we forced them to kick field goals after turnovers that put us in that situation, and those are the things that you're proud about. And I seen the confidence of our defense start to grow throughout the game. And they got a little worn down. I think they play. When you look at it,
yep.
The plays when they take the penalties off of it, the snaps we took that we graded it was 99 snaps that our defensive kids took on Saturday night. Not counting that, 50% of your defensive kids are on every special team. So the average kid that would have played linebacker or the secondary probably played 110 to 115 snaps, and that's a lot of plays.
So this game gets started with an impressive 10-play drive. After you stop Midwestern, you win the coin toss, defer. Midwestern gets the ball. They go on to 7 plays. They punt the ball. You get the ball. And, Coach, you throw it to Dominique Martin, a 13-yard touchdown pass. Other than Lancaster, Texas, where in the heck did Dominique Martin come from?
Well, Dominique Martin was one of the highest recruited players that we recruited a couple years ago. And he's just been trying to, he's growing. He's a redshirt sophomore, didn't play a lot a year ago. Dominique's got tremendous speed. I tell you this, it was a recruiting battle. I walked in the house and Bill Maskell was walking out, and everybody wanted him. He's a great player. He's going to be a great player for us. He's a tremendous kid, and if anybody's a teacher around here listening, they will always tell you. I'll tell you this: we have some really great kids, but I don't get anybody the emails I get about this kid from the people that he touches on campus. He's unbelievable. He's a tremendous young man. He is a great student. He represents this university and this program in a great way. And I was more thrilled when he scored that touchdown than he was, because he needed that for his confidence. And then he came back in and made some plays. And you'll start to see Dominique. We needed that confidence. I'm so pumped up for that kid because he deserves it. He works hard. And I'm really excited to see, want to see him take off the rest of the season.
At the half, this game was close. The Mustangs led 14-13. For the second consecutive week, the offense a bit stagnant in the third quarter. Have you put your finger on why that is?
No, I'm trying to get, I let those guys handle it offensively. We're trying to get over there and figure out how to stop this, this offense this week at Commerce. And, we talk about things like that, but, they know the issues. I mean, there's, whether it be a bad read here or a missed throw there or, and they make a great call into a situation or they make a great play. Sometimes it happens that, that guy over there gets scholarships too, and he
Sure.
sometimes he whips you, in a couple of situations that happened to us. And, they got a great defensive line. That number 6, he started at the University of Kansas. I don't know how he got there, because if I got a defensive end that looks that pretty and can run like that, I'm not going to let him off my campus. They had some great pass rushers. And, the kid that was from Kaufman there, we were in a recruiting battle and lost him when he went up there. He's 6'7", and, they put some pressure on the quarterback with their ends, and they really did a great job of stopping the run. They eliminated all the inside gaps and forced Colin to run, and they had 2 guys scraping outside for Colin. We probably should have thrown the ball a little bit more on the perimeter like we did a year ago with our bubble passes, and we called them. They were there. We just didn't make the throws. If we had, we'd have probably hit yardage in chunks. But we got to go back and regroup and make sure that that's part of the game plan.
1:05 remaining. Jake Glover found Strains, the tight end, for that 9-yard pass. Like you said, Midwestern takes a 27-23 lead. You get the ball with 65 seconds left. You have all 3 timeouts. Run us through that drive and why you weren't able to gain some momentum.
They come back. They sacked him. That defensive end over there, that big sucker came off the edge, and he run past our offensive tackle like he gave him windburn. He run past him so fast. Colin set his feet and smoked him. That's, that guy played better in those situations. They sent 4. They dropped guys in coverage, and they whipped us up front. And we couldn't get anything going. That's just bottom line to it.
Safe to say this is going to be one of the best defenses you face all year?
I hope so. I hope so.
We're going to talk about that Commerce defense in a couple seconds.
It's very similar to the one we seen a week ago.
Yeah.
When that's Florida Tech almost. I was telling you, Florida Tech goes for 2 to beat Bethune-Cookman, who beat Florida International, a Division 1A team, and they had them on the ropes to beat them in Daytona Beach. I talked to the coach. He said, "Heck, Coach, we got there. I just went for 2 at the end of the game. We could have tied it, went to overtime." And they had a great defense to shut those guys down that scored like 40 points on Florida International that's got 85 scholarships. So we've seen some great defense. You're going to see another good one this week too.
Eric Matthews did play in this game. He was 2 for 6 through the air for 11 yards. Did he show a little bit of rust in your mind?
No, he came in. He's got to see. Eric is. He's coming off a concussion. It takes a while, for you to come off the concussion and be able to. A lot of things, Casey, don't realize, and you were in the athletic meeting there when the athletic trainers, Dr. Simpson and Jacob Fain and those guys were talking about, when they get a concussion, they're so sensitive to light. It's, he has some online classes, and being able to look at the computer and, trying to make up work and getting back in the routine of everything. You know, he didn't have rush. He made a couple good runs. He made a couple good reads. The interception that he thrown
wasn't his fault, was it?
Right in the old hands of a Texan there, and we got to pull that ball in, deflect it up. They catch it, and running back put us in the short field. I mean, he made a great throw. Made a great throw to Bubba down the seam for a big play that set us up there. And, you know, Eric's going to get better. Eric's a competitor. Him and Chops are a competitor, and they'll keep grinding it out. You know, one thing about it is if you come watch those two quarterbacks play, they're going to give, you know, they'll take a shot. They're not, you know, I'm trying to get them to step out of bounds. You know, don't take as many shots, but they're tough, and I like watching those two play.
What can you say about Devin Figures? 19 tackles in this ball game.
You know, and we set it up where Devin was going to – we had to stop the inside run. And we ran a completely different coverage than what we had ever ran before. It was basically our base coverage. We just lined them up in situations that if you drew it on a board and said, I want this guy here if they run this. And we just kind of placed it. We put him in the middle of the formation, and he was working off the vertical route of number 2. You know, you know, he had a chance at anything that spit through there. You know, it got it. You know, I tell you this though, and I wish I had a video because I've sent this video in. I'm going to complain to the NCAA. I'm going to complain right now. The rules of the game have changed so much that defensively you're handcuffed. They were running the ball. They'll take the ball and they'll ride it in like it's an option play. And then the quarterback runs down the line of scrimmage, and they take a receiver and they run him down the field. And they take another receiver and run it like it's an option. So anybody that's been accustomed to seeing the option ran, you got the dive and you got the pitch. Imagine defending the option with the post route and slant route, and the referees allowing them to throw the ball down the field with the center 8 yards down the field. And then they came out on several occasions, and they would block our corner, and they would run a slant route behind him and block him and run the option, run down the line. This guy don't know what they're going to do. Brandon Moore didn't know what he's going to do, and he'd flip it out there. So you didn't know if the quarterback was going to run it, throw it like it was a drop-back pass with a lineman running block down the field, and you can watch it. I tell you what, watch any play on college football. That same play beat Alabama and Auburn last year on the last second play. And they're going to have to either change the rules that we can smoke the quarterback after the ball's gone because then he won't think about throwing it, or they're going to have to call illegal man downfield. Everybody in the NCAA that has anything to do with college football got an email from me today with the clips, and that's the 3rd week in a row that it's happened to us.
What did you think about the play of the cornerback Sean Murray and DeAndre Locke?
The best corner play was by Robert Atkinson. Robert Atkinson came in and played absolutely unbelievable, and he got a concussion the last play before the first half. That was where because Robert is a 10-4 kid. He's a 2-time 100-meter champion. And when Charles was pulling it up, and it was like a free safety. That kid has no fear. He was filling the alley. He was making every play. If the quarterback kept it, and we kept him at bay there. And then when he got hurt and went down, you lost immediate speed. You talk about a 10-4 kid running the alley. We could match up with him. All I did was sit him over top the inside receiver, and I told him, you cover both of them deep. He's that fast. And he stayed deep over top of it, and he got a concussion, and that changed the game for us. DeAndre Locke is a great player. I wish he didn't have that big old cast on his hand. He could have probably had 2 more interceptions.
Almost had a pick 6.
You know, he's got that cast there, and, you know, you've seen the highlight tapes and what he did at Sam Houston, tremendous kid. But then Sean did come in and play great for us, and Sean's getting better. You'll see Sean move to some safety this week. Keenan Blair was out for the 2nd week in a row. And, you know, Keenan gives you a 6'1" corner that can run like Robert Atkinson. So I like to get that back because anytime you got a freshman like that, and I think he's going to be, if he progresses, I mean, that child could be an NFL player one day.
And we talked about this during the post-game interview. Midwestern State, 14 penalties for 187 yards. They coughed up the ball 3 times in the second half. How disappointing was it that you weren't able to take advantage of that, per se?
Advantage. We could have taken advantage, but I think the 2 penalties that we really had that could have gave us some advantage, they were waved off. You get the targeting call on Bubba,
yep.
And they waved the targeting off. You got the guy that stomped John Blair in the back of the neck right in front of the referee, and they waved that one off. And, said our guy initiated the contact, and he's laying face down, got stomped in the back of the neck. So those plays, that would have been a 15-yard penalty before half that we kicked the field goal. that ball was at the 50. Now you move that ball down to the 35. You got a completely different game. You got Bubba's situation with a helmet to helmet. Now you got the ball on the 30. Now you got the ball, down on the 15.
You can't replay the helmet to helmet. You can't replay the Clifton Rhodes catch in the end zone.
No, but he was out. Him and Nardi.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
okay.
They were way
well,
out.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me
calls.
that. So.
Yeah, they were way out.
With the 27-23 loss to Midwestern State, the Tarleton Texans fall to 1-2 overall and 1-1 in the Lone Star Conference. When we return in 1 minute on the Coach Cary Fowler Radio Show, it's time for our Lone Star Conference and National Spotlight. This is the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. And welcome back to Legends Country Club. Again, we will be here until 7 o'clock. We've got door prizes to give away, food specials, and, of course, we'll have our Ask the Coach segment later in the show. If you're not here and you want to ask a question to Coach Fowler, make sure you send us a tweet at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. Again, at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. Time now for our Lone Star Conference and National Spotlight, and we'll start by taking a look at the 4 games around the Lone Star Conference this past week, and we'll start at San Angelo. What a wild one this was. At the half, Coach, I'm sitting in the press box, and I update the stats at the half and the game scores. It's 35-21, Angelo State. What does West Texas do in the second half? They outscore them 37-6 and win 58-41. Is this the game that WT really probably needed to get on track?
Yes, I was looking at the stats. I talked to the head coach Will Wagner today at Angelo, and that quarterback, you have to watch young kids develop. That's the whole thing. He talked about that young kid, and
Preston Rabb.
Especially when we were playing West Texas, when those guys were calling, interviewing me, asking me how bad. I mean, he's a 6'7" quarterback that can throw the football and he can run. He hasn't played any. I understand that. We're going through growing pains ourselves right now. But they're productive, and they compete. The guy threw for almost
495 yards.
500 yards.
Yeah.
But they wanted to bury him alive 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, they were calling for Preston Rabb to be benched.
And I don't know how many times that Dustin Vaughn ever threw for right at 500 yards. That's a lot of yards.
Sure is.
And I think it was 5 touchdowns. Is that what it was? Something like that?
637 total yards of offense. So
by himself.
What a game. 58-41, West Texas A&M wins. Going over to Abilene, where McMurray defeated Texas A&M Kingsville 27-21. And just got to say what Lance Henson is doing right now without any scholarships, basically without any scholarships, pretty impressive to get that win.
He does. Or the other way around.
Yeah, and I know in Kingsville, with the tradition they have, the folks down there are probably not happy.
They got some good players over there still at McMurray. If some of those guys left, but Mason Miller would tell you they had the #1 offense in the conference a year ago. They just weren't in the stats. They were in the top 5 in the country in total offense. So they got some offensive players, but they kind of grinded it out on them, and let those guys run. Because if you looked at the stat sheet, Kingsville, you'd have thought Kingsville won. That's why those stats, you can't watch those stats.
No, so the only stat that matters is the final score.
Yeah,
you can't take McMurray lightly this year. That's what they've proven thus far.
They beat Houston Baptist, beat those guys, and you can't ever. They were all those guys. Anytime you go to play a football game, you got to be ready to go.
Texas A&M Commerce over Eastern New Mexico 48-32. We'll talk about that in the last segment when we preview the game against Texas A&M Commerce. And, of course, Midwestern 27, Tarleton 23. The standings in the conference look like this. Midwestern State 2-0, 3-0 overall. Commerce is also 2-0 in the conference. They're 3-1 on the year. Angelo State, McMurray, and West Texas A&M each with 1 win and 1 loss in the conference. You've got Tarleton in there as well at a 1-1 conference record. Eastern New Mexico and Kingsville, they're in the bottom of the conference right now, 0-2. But you've got 6 teams within a game of each other. A lot of parity in the league. Do you see that changing?
What's going to happen if 6 teams have 2 losses at the end of the year? How are they going to seed that tournament?
I don't want to know. I can promise you this. I'm not smart enough to figure that out. Somebody will have to.
We're going to have a nice little tournament you could have, because everybody's still got to play everybody. I mean, there's a reason why 6 teams had first place votes in the preseason, not because we all stink. We only got 1 team in the top 25 in the country. I'd like to just line us down and say, the heck with the Lone Star Conference. We'll play anybody anywhere, and let's just see who the best conference is in the country.
There is 4 games in the conference this week. A 3 o'clock kickoff in Canyon, McMurray at West Texas A&M. You've got Angelo State at Midwestern. The last 3 games, 7 o'clock kickoffs. Angelo at Midwestern. Midwestern will be the favorite, but that could be a pretty good game in Wichita Falls.
It'll be a good game. It'll be a good game. They got Angelo's got a great quarterback.
Kyle Washington.
And there were some scores in there that you seen. It was a scoop, a scoop one for a fumble, and they ran a kickoff back. There's a lot of the scoring in there that just wasn't the defense, against West Texas, which I knew, it's a matter of time before that kid gets. He's game 4. It's he's been doing it week after week after week now, and gets better. But yeah, that'll be a good game. They're coming off a loss. They're coming off a high. Anything can happen in this league.
You never know. Eastern New Mexico at Texas A&M Kingsville. Kind of interesting there because those are two teams desperately that need a win, Coach.
Yes, and Eastern New Mexico, they had Midwestern, and they had Commerce. And
that's a tough stretch.
They had Midwestern down at one point 10-0. They were in the game. They scored. Commerce scored just before half. It was 17-10. They scored just before half, and then they were up like 25 points, and then all of a sudden they come back. They got a really good football team. They've taken both these teams wide, and then they thought they had him buried. The next thing you know, they had the ball last and had a chance to score to even tighten that thing up more.
So Eastern New Mexico at Kingsville, 7 o'clock, and then Tarleton at Commerce, 7 o'clock. We'll talk about that later in the show. Quick look at the AFCA Top 25 poll this week. Northwest Missouri, still the number 1 team by far in the nation with 31st place votes. Colorado State, Pueblo, also in Super Region 4. They are number 2 in the nation at 4-0. You've got Midwestern State moved up from 18 to 16. Texas A&M Commerce receiving 14 votes. Tarleton receiving no votes this week. So if you need some motivation, now you're the ultimate underdog, at least if you look at the poll, Coach.
Yeah, I've never even discussed the poll. I'd like to know who votes on them. That's those polls don't matter. At the end of the year, they're going to be a champion, and everybody else finished last.
No doubt about that. And polls basically fun for media members to talk about, and especially when you get to the Division II level. Let's just be honest, you don't get that TV coverage, so the polls aren't quite as accurate as, say, D1. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because, I know a guy pretty well that's on that committee there that has to vote for it, and I'll go home with him tonight too, all right? But here's the thing. When I have to vote, I have no idea. I can't even tell you where Slippery Rock or Bloomsburg are,
I can't either.
And so, I vote
Pennsylvania, Slippery Rock.
I vote for our region, that's the thing, it's an honor to be on that, but, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a champion, and Northwest is the champion until somebody proves them different.
We've got 4 folks that have won door prizes thus far. We've got 4 Tarleton Sports Network T-shirts to give out. So if you hear your name, come up to the front. We appreciate everyone being here. Bruce Robertson. Bruce, come up to the front. Grab a T-shirt. Vin Smith. Vin, come on down. Give Vin a hand. We've got Dwayne Snyder and Robbie Martin. Robbie, come on down. So Dwayne, Robbie, Vin, and Bruce, congratulations. Thanks for being here at Legends Country Club for the Coach Cary Fowler radio show. That'll do it for the Lone Star Conference in National Spotlight. Guess who we're going to hear from next? Lance Drake.
Lance Drake.
Hey, tell him how much
Lance at?
Tell him how much fun a Lance Drake speech or interview can be.
They're going to find out.
It's our Tarleton Athletic Spotlight. We'll talk to head tennis coach Lance Drake in 1 minute when the Coach Cary Fowler radio show continues right after this. And welcome back to the Coach Cary Fowler radio show, live from Legends Country Club in Stephenville. We'll be here until 7, so make sure you swing by. As always, we have our special guest at the show tonight. Our guest tonight is in his 14th year as the head tennis coach at Tarleton. He's led the Texans to the NCAA tournament 10 times, including a trip back in 2006 to the Elite Eight. That year he was named the Lone Star Conference and South Central Regional Coach of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Lance Drake to the show. Coach, how are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Did you write any notes or prepare a speech for us today?
There are never any notes. What are you talking about?
So we have in the spring what's called the All Sports Picnic, where we announce all the award winners and recognize the athletes. And there's people that wait all year long for Lance Drake's speach at the All Sports Picnic. Didn't you fall off the stage one year?
No, that's rumor.
Oh, that's rumor.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I think we've got some tape of that. We should have brought it. Let's get into tennis, Coach. Your squad wrapped up the fall schedule, the ITA South Central Regionals in Wichita Falls. You wrapped that up Sunday afternoon. How pleased were you with the results?
Mixed. We're just so young and so green this year, and it's a situation we haven't been in a long time. But just due to graduation and some transfers that put us in this position. But as far as what we did as playing wise, if you look at it overall, we did a good job. I mean, we improved.
Sure.
And at this point in time of the year, that's what I want to see. And so that outing was good, and to see people do some things that we've been working on.
Let's talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to try not to butcher some of these names. When you get to the golf roster and the tennis roster, the names get a little difficult, but we had the doubles tandem of Erica Richarm and Louisa Ados, and they won the consolation bracket, and that's not an easy thing to do. Pretty good performance for them.
Oh, yeah, I thought they did an outstanding job. You know, again, they're young. Erica is a freshman from Montgomery, and we were, you know, she's battling through some nerves early. Just had a tough draw first round. It's a team they can play with, just didn't get the job done. So we go into the back draw, and we're able to go all the way through that, and that's a good accomplishment and do a lot for their confidence as we move forward. So
you've got on your roster, you've got 6 Texans on the roster. You talked about how many newcomers you have. You have 4 newcomers: Aridana, Kobizis, Marty, I probably messed that up, Ashley Elward, Gabriella Jansen, and Erica Richarm. You talked a little bit about Erica, but run us through that recruiting class. And how do you get players from Australia and Spain? Well, I mean, how does that happen? Because do you actually get to take a trip over to Australia and, you know?
Yeah, we're still working on that, yeah.
Coach Reisman? I think you need to take one of the assistant ADs to Spain, too. That would be nice. But seriously, how do you find players like that in the recruiting process?
Well, I mean, the longer you're at this job, and I mean, you make some contacts, and whether it's online, you know, like the Australian girl, we ran into to her actually through Sandon Stolley, which his dad, Fred Stolley, played for Australian Davis Cup. And so he gave me a call up and said he had this young lady, and she's a joy and a pleasure. You know, she's green but has potential, and so we'll work with that. And so some of the other ones have just been connections. And Cabezas is from Spain, and she was, again, just a contact. I mean, we've had several Spaniards. Golf has several Spaniards on the team, so we've had a contact there that was able to put us in touch with some young ladies. And Gabriella Jansen, she's a transfer from Houston. And so, I mean, technically a junior, but playing-wise just a sophomore, but very, very good leader, very vocal, encouraging, and it's something this team's going to need. And
Division I transfer, too, so that could, it's got to give her some, playing at the University of Houston for 2 years, it's got to give her at least some really good experience on the court.
Right, and she was able to play there just 1 year. She didn't play her second year just to some other issues that had came up. But, you know, pleasure and just a great fit for her here at Tarleton.
So Louisa and Ellie, the 2 returners on this roster, how important is it for them to step up and be leaders?
It's going to be pretty big this year.
Have you told them that? Have you know?
Well, not exactly. We're kind of letting the team play out a little bit here. But, you know, Louisa's just had a good showing, and the way she's going about working on things and what she was able to accomplish during her matches, I think the other players can look at that and start to learn from it. And, you know, you get a sense of a little bit of leadership coming around in that area. Like I say, Gabriella will do that also. You know, it's going to be important because we lost so many. I mean, we had 9 players last year. We lose 7. You know, 5 to graduation and 2 transfers. And so
one of them you lose, Carla Martinez, but she sticks around. She's now your graduate assistant. How important is it to kind of have that continuity and to have Carla around?
Carla's been outstanding, and you can ask the players that. Just, man, she's good. You know, I've never had a GA that has done so many things. She's very good with the girls. She's very good on court instruction. She's very organized in what she does.
She keeps you organized a little bit?
Very much so. And so, I mean, it's been good for me.
Yeah.
And so, Carla's just been a godsend. And
a lot of people listening are wondering, what is the difference between tennis in the fall and spring? Run us through kind of how that works, and because really the meat of the schedule occurs in the spring, does it not?
Correct. I mean, in the fall is more of what you call an individual type season. So we'll play whatever tournaments we can get into.
They let you play in?
That they'll let us play in. So, you know, we're fortunate we've been able to get into quite a few D1 tournaments, which is a tough thing to do. But, you know, it's good for us, good playing on that. So the fall, again, more individual, kind of working on things, kind of seeing where your team is.
Sure.
And, You know, the ITA regional, which we just played, that's the major portion or the major emphasis in the fall. Then we get into spring, and that's all team-oriented. And so, you know, and that's fun. The fun part of it when you get the team camaraderie going and the support there.
And the matches are open to the public. We even had Nathan Burrell out doing the PA last year. So make sure you go look at the schedule, tarletonsports.com. I got to go out a couple times last year, and there's not much better on a beautiful day than just sitting out there and watching a little bit of tennis, especially when you get out of the office.
Well, that's outstanding, yeah. And we're going to be looking for somebody to sing the national anthem. So, Casey, if you're
I'm not singing the national anthem. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote Susan Burton or David Tomlinson on the national anthem. Real quick, there's 4 new tennis courts out there. How big has that been for the program, recruiting, logistics-wise?
You know, we really haven't got to feel the impact of it yet. But I'm going to tell you, when we get somebody in here, they're very impressed. And you can talk to the coaches who have been in, who've played, and they go, wow, you know, this is a great venue. And so,
sure is.
I mean, it is.
And I forgot, you haven't even been able to use it yet because I think we had the grand opening, in April?
Something like that. And so,
Coach, thanks so much for your time. Wish you the best of luck here in the fall and, of course, in the spring. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
That's the head tennis coach at Tarleton State University, Lance Drake, for our Tarleton Athletic Spotlight. When we return in 1 minute, Coach Fowler will rejoin the broadcast, and we'll have our Ask the Coach segment. This is the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. Welcome back to the Coach Cary Fowler radio show. Time now for our Flex segment, also our Ask the Coach segment. Before we get into our Ask the Coach segment, we've got 3 live questions from the audience. Coach, we got to talk about the crowd on Saturday. How many of y'all were at the game on Saturday? Raise your hand. 9,000 folks at Memorial Stadium. That's the 3rd biggest crowd in Tarleton history, and it was really a sight to see, wasn't it?
It was great. You know, I'd like to know how many that were Tarleton fans. We'll probably never know that. How many Tarleton fans at Cowboy Stadium, and how many here in the last 2 weeks supported Tarleton State football in our university. It's a great crowd. It's the best around. It's unbelievable. We can't, it gives us something to, to play for, and nobody else, getting pictures of that and putting it in our media guide and being able to see that nobody else can fill their stadium like that.
Tarleton was 25th in the nation in home attendance, and hopefully that number will just continue to climb. How about this? You can listen now and watch the home games. You can watch the home games on video for free at tarletonsports.com. We put the radio feed on the video. And, of course, on the road, you just got to settle for the radio feed. Take a guess how many people watched that game online the other day against Midwestern? Just guess.
100,
2,700. So 27. We had Sidearm, our internet provider, pull the report today. And I can prove it. If y'all think I love to exaggerate. I'm going to be honest with you. But this is Coach Reisman's got the.
Never in Washington, D.C. were you?
No, never in D.C. Coach Reisman has the report, and you'll see on it 2,700 people tuned in to watch that. And that really tells you the scope of Tarleton athletics in this football program.
Yep. Coach, we appreciate what you've done for us.
I think that's it. We talked a little bit about Devin Figures. By the way, Figures is leading the nation in tackles per game. 15 per game, and you talked a little bit about him earlier, but neat to see. Anytime you pull the national stat sheet to see a Texan number 1 in the nation is cool.
The thing about it is he's one of the only kids I've ever coached in my life as a DB coach, that he has started strong safety for us. He started in the boundary corner, the field corner, the weak side safety, and the free safety. He has started every position and he's a better kid than he is football player. When you got a guy like Charles Moore and Devin Figures who's been here for 5 years, they come to practice in the mornings. They have to run out of there real fast. They take a shower. They student teach here in the elementary schools and one at the middle school. They student teach all day to 3 o'clock. They come back over there. They're great kids. They both got a great mom and dad. Devin Figures from Jefferson.
I was about to say he's from Jefferson.
And here's the amazing thing is, both of them's little brothers play for us too, and it's a neat situation to have. They got great moms and dads, and I'm gonna miss those 2 suckers when they leave at safety because they're better men than they are players, and they're really good players.
One of my really, really good friends is the radio voice of the Texas A&M Commerce Lions, Charlie Chitwood, and he, ironically enough, lives in Jefferson and just really says a lot of praises about Devin Figures and the kind of young man and player he was from Jefferson. And that's not a very big town, I don't believe.
It's not. It's not. It's a little town, and he was a big time recruit coming out, and it's just been awesome to see him grow as a young man.
Time now for our Ask the Coach segment. I believe that we have Andrew Hansen working the crowd. We've got 3 questions. Andrew, turn on that mic. Let's see. Hopefully it works.
Yeah.
There we go. Andrew, fire away.
Kyle Everett.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Coach Fowler. I noticed that Cody Marley was injured during the Florida Tech game in the second quarter. Do you have a prognosis for his return or injury?
I appreciate that. What a great kid, to get him in here. And you get a guy from Kansas State. And Cody will have, here in the next week, he'll have knee surgery and he'll be out for the year. And, that hurt. He was, at linebacker. He brought great speed to us. He brought great intensity. He's one of the best special teams players I'd ever seen. That's what they said about him at Kansas State. Young man's got a degree from Kansas State. Hopefully, we'll be able to he does have another semester to play next year, and that was the reason that he transferred here, not a 1AA. So hopefully we can get him back. But that's a big blow to us because you get a guy that has started in the Big 12, and he's a great young man. Losing him has been tough on us.
The Denton Geyer product. But he could, if he wanted to play next fall, he could.
Oh, he's already told me.
He wants to.
Yeah, so, hopefully we can keep him around.
All right, second question from the crowd. Andrew?
Yeah, Ken Luker.
Hey, Coach. What do you expect to see out of A&M Commerce this weekend?
Well, they're going to offensively. They got a quarterback that was recruited to the University of Auburn to back up Cam Newton, and he didn't make it there and ended up going to Tyler Junior College. They got a running back that is in the top 10 in touchdowns at the University of Texas, and they got 2 outside. They got 2 receivers outside that are All-Americans, and one of them was a junior college All-American, and one of them was an All-American there last year, Vernon John. See, I tell you this now. You talk about transfers. Both those kids, both those wide receivers that they got left Midwestern. I'm glad they weren't on that team. Mixed with those running backs they had.
And Vernon Johnson is as good as it gets. I mean, he's a very good player.
Ricky Collins on the other side. That they got a great offensive weapons, and on defense they have the #1 player in the country, and Charles Tanu. Is that the way I say it?
Tui. Yeah, Tui.
He's so big. I just want to know his name.
We're gonna talk about him later. I can promise you that.
But they got a lot of great players.
And one more question from the crowd.
Yeah, I have a question, Coach. I think we both know you win football games in the trenches. What did film show, offensive line, defensive line?
There was some, up front, I think our defensive tackles played really, really well. They play really well. There's some guys on the offensive line that played well at times, and there's some times that we had breakdowns that caused the plays that you've seen that didn't look so good. Our defensive ends have really got to come on. We got some great players out of defensive end, but if they had they probably made as many mistakes as anybody, and that glared. If you watched the game, they didn't make the tackles on the quarterback when they had a chance. They had a chance to sack him on several occasions, and you don't get. Our secondary has really grown up, and there's not a corner that they're in their first year here. All of them learning the system. And, over the last 2 weeks, our DBs have really started to grow. And they've gave our defensive line opportunity to have 12 coverage sacks, and we've only got 3 out of that. We've got to learn to turn those. But our kids are hungry. They're learning. They're over there watching, and they're learning. You got freshmen and sophomores up there. One kid that hadn't played very much. And, losing Pat Bettiall, too. Pat is not going to be able to play for us. And, he came back and played in 1 half at Florida Tech. And losing a kid like him who started for you for 3 years at defensive end, that hurts.
That's our Ask the Coach segment. Make sure you show up next week here at Legends Country Club again from 6 to 7 p.m. You can ask Coach Fowler a question live. And again, you can send us questions all week long for next week's show at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. That is the Twitter name and handle, whatever you call it. When we return in 1 minute, Coach and I will preview game number 4 of the 2014 regular season against Texas A&M Commerce when the Coach Cary Fowler radio show continues right after this. And welcome back to the Coach Cary Fowler radio show. Time now to preview game number 4 of the 2014 regular season. It's a matchup with 3-1 Texas A&M Commerce, a game that will be played at 7 o'clock on Saturday from, ironically enough, Memorial Stadium, but in Commerce, Texas. Colby Carthel, coach, in his second year at the helm of this program. He took over a program that went 1-9 the last year of the Guy Morris tenure. Coach Carthel comes in. Did you think Colby would be able to turn it around this quick?
Yes, I mean, it's the philosophy. At Division II, it's a philosophy of recruiting. You can go out and very quickly, with all the junior colleges that play football in the country and the guys that are transferring, you can very quickly upgrade your talent. You know, and that's what they've been able to do. It's a complete difference of philosophies of our program, and I believe in the greatest players in the world are the Texas high school football players, and I believe building the program through Texas high school football players and mixing in some transfers there. You know, that's way, and he believes in transfers and guys from all over the country, and you know, it's just different philosophy. But you can bring them in. You've seen them all do it. You know, I've been part of it when I was at Midwestern. You know, way before Maskell got there with Linwood Ferguson. You know, there's a lot of coaches that have done it. You know, but you know, you look at their roster, and almost all those guys are seniors. They got them a year ago. They turn it around. They're seniors, and he's going to have to go back and do that again. And you don't get to develop your talent. It's fun to develop kids. When you take a kid and you watch him develop as a young man, you watch him grow in the weight room, you watch him grow as a young person, you watch him grow in the classroom, and then you watch him graduate, and you watch his mama cry because she's so proud of him. That's what coaching is. Coaching is not that on Saturday. That's just the fun part of it, that they get opportunity to play. That's why I coach the game of football, to build programs, to watch young men develop into men that are going to be great fathers and great husbands one day. And that's the high I get off of coaching. And difference in philosophy.
Now, Coach, they're coming off a 48-32 win against Eastern New Mexico in Blackwater draw. They led 31-10 at the half, never looked back. What was the takeaway from that game as you looked at the film, if you've had a chance to?
Yeah, you know, you looked. I mean, they got great players. You know, they can do a lot of great things. You know, they're explosive. You know, defensively, offensively, kicking game, they can do. You know, they can make. So we score 98 points. I don't know if we can score 98 points with nobody out there. You know, that's a hard thing, Coach Kerrigan. What do you think about that? 98 points in 60 minutes. That'd be hard if nobody's out there.
Even against East Texas Baptist.
Defense has got to score. Special teams got to score. So they're explosive. I just have a sneaky feeling about something. You know, these little Texans this week. You're not gonna keep them down long now.
Coach, the Lions blocked a punt in the first quarter of that 16-point win. They blocked a field goal, 3 blocked punts on the year, but that's been an area your team's been pretty good at this year. And Blake's done a great job. You know, wow, you know about Blake Barnes. You know, I tell you what we need to do. You can do me a favor. What's that?
He told me, and I didn't realize this, and I went back and I tracked it.
Yeah.
Kicking field goals into the field house. He can't see the goalpost very well because he's kicking into the dark. I went back and tracked Garrett Lindholm. He hit 50% of his field goals kicking into the field house, and all of his other field goals were made kicking in the scoreboard because you got the depth with the light of the scoreboard.
Sure.
Hit that 49-yarder. I knew we were kicking to the light. He says, Coach, we got this, baby. Bam, and he could have kicked that thing from 60. I didn't even think. He told me that this week. He said, Coach, I'm looking in the dark, and I'm seeing the uprights, and you can't judge his depth. And you can get a great big light, right? Or when you're ready to kick this other big light and turn it down when the other team kicks.
I couldn't kick it.
That'd be a good job for Perry because y'all are back there. He's got a big light underneath of it. We'll be good.
How much mental toughness did he show? Because I think it was a 32-yarder that he missed, and then to come back and kick that 49-yarder.
Yeah,
kicking's a mental game.
I have great confidence in that young kid. He knew when he walked off. You know, he looked at me and I said, "You pulled it." And he said, "Yeah." But, you know, plant foot got out in front. He knows. And I looked at him, and at the end, and you go for it. I said, "No, we're kicking it." Blake, you ready, baby? He said, "Coach, I got it." I said, "It's 59 yards." It was 49. He said, "Coach, we're good." And he went out there.
Might have hit it from 59.
He's got great confidence. He's kicking the ball off well. He's punting. Me and him are studying film together, and we're getting better and better at stuff we're learning. I'm proud of that kid. You know, you guys from Stephenville, you know, that kid's got to make you proud.
Coach, going back to Texas A&M Commerce, you talked a lot about their personnel on offense, so you don't have to elaborate much on this one, but they're averaging 55 points a game, 530 yards. And I was thinking about this earlier. If you could put together like a Division II fantasy football team, 4 or 5 of those guys on Commerce might be on your team.
They probably, a couple of the defensive guys, offensive guys. But you know.
And I know that's just it's a team effort. I know that.
They've got a lot of weapons. They've got I think it's 2 or 3 5A Texas Players of the Year. They're on their 4th school in 4 years, so it's the reason they. You know, it's just I'm not going to hold no bones about it. I just believe in different. You know, we've developed them, and I wait to see see Chops, and I can't wait to see Colin Strahan in 2 years. You know, and he's still got a couple years left with us, but they do have a lot of great players, and but I don't even talk about them because I just tell our players they got numbers on. and they got to put their pants on just like you.
But they have some flaws. I mean, and I know you don't want to sit here and talk about all the flaws they have, but no team is perfect. In Commerce, defensively, maybe in the secondary, you might be able to have some success through the air.
Possibly, possibly, and you just, we got to get loose. We got to get comfortable. We got to protect the quarterback. And if the quarterback can sit back there, we got good receivers who can get them to the ball. We just got to go out and execute, catch the balls when they're there, make big plays, and be able to run the football. Open it up. Those backs that we got and the quarterbacks that can run it. You just got to keep them off balance, Casey. That's more than anything. If you can keep them off balance, run, pass, hit them with a couple screens, and keep them off balance, then you got a chance, because then those guys up front don't tee off. If you get in a situation that you're playing from behind, you got to throw, they can tee off, and they got a great defensive line. And
maybe this question's irrelevant, but you talked about they put 98 points up against East Texas Baptist, 55 against Kingsville, and then of course this past week they put 48 up against Eastern. But Division I SFA was able to hold them to 17 points in that Week 2 loss in Nacogdoches, 38-17. Can you take anything from what SFA did, or is it irrelevant?
Yeah, or you can take it in. What I'll take from is this: is a year ago, we got a lot of starters coming back on defense, and some of them have been hurt, and we're getting some of them back this week. We held them to 22 points, and they were averaging the same amount a year ago.
That's right.
And they're probably saying our offense averages, and they held us to 20. But you got anything can happen. We've got to, if we got to score with them, we got to score with them. If it's got to come into a defense, we just got to find a way to win the game. And keep the eye on the one and not worry about it. But yeah, they scored a lot of points, and they will, they're going to score a lot of points. But somebody's got to come up with a scheme to kind of stop it. And as soon as I leave here, I'll be right back in that defensive film room seeing if I can't figure that out. Defensive
line, you've talked about the Lions' defensive front. Charles Tuow, Tony Palou. You've got this newcomer, Ashton Dorsey. Is that really the strength of this defense up front?
Yes, I think they may have the best defensive line probably, and I'll make a bold statement, probably in the state of Texas.
Really? They're that good?
Well, when every NFL scout calls you and asks you about the defensive tackle they have over there, okay, he came through on a zone play, and I don't know what they were doing. It's like they were reading him or something and hoping that he goes in to tackle the back. He comes straight up the field. He tackled the quarterback and the running back at the same time. I've never seen him before in my life. That's a big old man now. That defensive lineman I believe you're referring is Tuow, Tony Palou. And I know you're just a numbers guy. Yeah, he had like 18 sacks last year, led the country in sacks from the defensive tackle position. Tuow, first-team All-American this past year, and he'll definitely be a force to be reckoned with. Now, just overall, when you go to Commerce, I can imagine that the stadium, the atmosphere, and the feel, the first game I called against Commerce 2 years ago, my first year back here at Tarleton, it was deflated. The atmosphere at Commerce was deflated. They get a new AD in Ryan Ivey. They get a new football coach. They got a new field. I think the largest field logo in America, something like that. Yeah. It's going to be a different atmosphere, is it not? And Ryan did a good job. Me and Ryan grew up in the same area in Kentucky. We known each other for a long time, and he'll bring some. He played one of the biggest powers in the state of Kentucky there in football, and family's coach, and they'll have a lot of atmosphere. Kobe has brought a lot of energy over there, and they'll have a good atmosphere in the game, and we'll put on those old white jerseys and roll over there, and be us in that locker room together, and it's not a very good locker room. Last time it rained over there.
It was leaking in there, wasn't it?
It rained harder in the locker room than it did outside.
That was the lightning delay. Blake Barnes had a school record in field goals in that game.
He did.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I remember that.
You'll see him. You get in a game like this, you got to. You can't gamble. You got every time you get an opportunity to score points. That's the same thing last week. You get an opportunity to score points. You can't go for a lot of fourth down. And Blake's a weapon for us, and we get them close. We got to take the points. But I promise you this: Blake Barnes will be mentally prepared for this game, and he's going to be the weapon that I look forward to making a big jump, because he missed 3 field goals against them last year. And he's excited about the opportunity, and he won't press because he's level-headed. If you've not been around him, he'll take those cowboy boots out, and he'll take his ball cap off, and he'll put his cleats on.
He's definitely from the cowboy capital of the world, is he not?
Asked me, said, Coach, I can't make study hall on Sunday because I'm going to be doing some workout for my grandpa in the field. Okay, Blake, go, baby. All right.
The President's Trophy on the line. I guess it started back in 2010. Dr. Newsom kind of spearheaded that with Dr. DeTavio's blessing. You've won it 3 out of 4 times. I know you're worried about Commerce and their personnel, but it'd be pretty cool to take that trophy on their home field.
I need that trophy. I'd like to have that trophy. put it right next to the other one we got from WT.
Oh, you got the one from WT finally? The trophy?
Okay. Coach Reisman got the trophy after he was.
Boy, you could get a bill passed through the Congress easier than getting that trophy.
I just know he was running around. He had it, so I didn't ask him how he got it, but he had it.
President's Trophy on the line. It's the Texans and the Lions. 7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday from Memorial Stadium in Commerce, Texas. The pregame show right here on the Tarleton Sports Network, a 6:30 p.m. start. Make sure you tune in. The Coach Cary Fowler pregame interview, starting lineups, and much more. We'll have the pregame show at 6:30. You can listen on the flagship station, 90.5 FM in Stephenville, Granbury. The signal goes actually into Fort Worth. If you can't listen on the radio, you can listen online, tarletonsports.com/listen live. I'm going to brag again. Guess how many people listen to the radio broadcast against WT?
2,500.
No, not that many. 1,400. But 1,400 people listen to a radio broadcast is pretty good. And
1,400.
on the road. Yeah.
2,500. See, when we get to, hey, you know what we'll do? When we get to the pregame interview, that'll be 2,000 and 3,000.
Oh, yeah. You think they're tuned in that early? It's usually a pretty entertaining interview.
If you say that, and somebody might be listening, and they say, "Oh, turn it in." What? Well, no, they can't watch it over there.
We know there's some people from Hopkinsville, Kentucky that are listening. That's for sure. Every week.
There's a lot of people from Hopkinsville, Kentucky listening.
Want to thank our entire live audience here at Legends Country Club, and Terry Hardcastle. Thanks for being here and helping us out. She's got some goodies to give away, some Texan football T-shirts, and I think Transition and Family Relations has another gift basket for us. So if you hear your name, come on down. We all know this one, Macy Hamilton. Macy, where you at?
Where's Macy?
I saw Macy earlier. All right, Macy gets something, Coach Reisman. Make sure we save her something there. We've got Van Johnson. Van, come on down. Sophie Fowler. Who's Sophie Fowler? Do we know Sophie? Oh, Jan. I'm sorry, Jan. Forgive me.
Sophie's on the tee box, too.
Sorry, Jan.
She'll hear her name. Here she'll come.
Patty Jones. Patty, come on. Sophie, you got to. Sophie don't have a Tarleton T-shirt, does she?
Yes.
She's got a few of them. So congratulations again, Jan, Sophie,
but she was
Patty.
asking for a new one today.
She's going to get a new one. She's going to get one of those Tarleton Sports Network presented by Ford T-shirts. So thanks again to our live audience. Let's talk a little Texan volleyball. 10-4 on the year and 4th place in the conference, 4-3 record. They had a rough weekend falling to West Texas A&M and Eastern New Mexico this past weekend, but they're turning the page. They have 2 home games this week, and Coach Schindler will need each and every one of you out at the volleyball gym. A huge match on Friday night at 6 o'clock against Angelo State. Coach Angelo State, one of those programs that's usually a perennial powerhouse, and that'll be a huge game Friday night.
Friday night's a big game. Do they play there on Tuesday too? Yeah,
they're going to play Angelo Friday at 6, and then 2:30 on Saturday against Newman. So they've got a non-conference one at 2:30. Of course, they'll play that 2:30 one earlier in the day. And, of course, your Texans will kick it off at 7 o'clock from Commerce. Peyton Heining was named the Lone Star Conference cross-country male runner of the week for the first time in his career Thursday afternoon. So congratulations to Peyton and the Tarleton cross-country team. Make sure you download the mobile sports app in the Android and iTunes store. Search for TSU or Tarleton Athletics, and that iPhone app, pretty cool. And, of course, go to tarletonsports.com to stay up to date on the Texans and the Texans. Once again, we want to thank Texas Bank and Cross Timbers Orthopedics for sponsoring the Coach Cary Fowler radio show. Thanks to Legends Country Club for hosting the show. I want to thank the staff here at the Lookout Bar and Grill. A special thanks to Lance Drake, our special guest today during the Tarleton Athletic Spotlight. We want to thank Woods Furniture for providing Coach and I's table and chair set. Thanks to Tyrone Dotsey back at the studio for producing the broadcast. And most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you for listening and for your support of Tarleton Texan football. Coach, you talk a lot about keeping your eye on the one. Broadcasters don't do that because we think in the terms of you're 1 and 2, you'll probably have to run the table in this deal. But as a football player and a coach, eye on the one, it's Commerce all the way.
I mean, anything can happen. See, there's got to be somebody out of this league go to the national playoffs. And so, in the top 4 teams are going to play each other twice. So, you know, somebody's got to be able to come out of there. I don't see 2 of us coming out. You know, if they do, you know, we'll be with crutches and stretchers, because this thing is going to get very physical, and it's going to be very intense over the next 6 weeks. And you know, our intensity will be, it'll be just like it was last week. We're going to try to turn it into the most physical game they've ever been part of.
Coach, thanks as always for your time. Look forward to seeing you hoisting that President's Cup trophy on the field after the game.
We need that one.
That's the head coach of the Texans, Cary Fowler. That's going to do it for this 4th edition of the Coach Fowler Radio Show. Make sure you tune in at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday as your Tarleton Texans take on the Lions of Texas A&M Commerce. For the head coach of the Texans, Cary Fowler, I'm Casey Hogan saying so long, everyone, from Legends Country Club in Stephenville. Until next time, have a great week, and we'll talk to you on Saturday from Commerce.
David Baker under center, offset I formation. They'll stack it on the right side with the tight end Parker. It's intercepted at the 35-yard line. He's going to take it all the way into the end zone. It is Desmond Jackson.
Picking it up, Carter. 3-on-1 for Tarleton. Domstra, Lee, Carter, right-handed slam. That's going to do it. The Tarleton Texans are back on the throne of the Lone Star Conference Tournament. This is the Tarleton Sports Network.